أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So this is our Seerah session on Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and up till now, since until the last session we have done the dynasties of the Pharaoh and what was the condition of Bani Israel before the time of Musa alayhi salam. So what we have done up till now is we have discovered who was Pharaoh and what he used to do and how he came into power and what was their convictions, what were their religion, what were their beliefs. So this was all we have seen up till now. So today we are gonna dive deep into the Seerah, just directly start the Seerah of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and we are gonna take the content from the holiest book, the authentic books of all, and that is the Holy Quran. And basically, Musa alayhi salam's story, his series of events, is mentioned in various places in Quran, and he's the most the he's mentioned for the in the highest number in the Holy Quran. So, but right now, the birth of Musa alayhi salam and his mother events and his events for before the birth and after the birth until he went to the palace of Pharaoh, that are mentioned in Surah Al-Qasas and in Surah Taha. So we are gonna touch those events right now. So the first phase we are gonna discuss Musa alayhi salam's birth until he reached the palace of Pharaoh. So what are we gonna see today? The topics which we are gonna see today are the Quranic narrative versus the Israeli narrative. Right? It's not this the country Israel. It's the Israelite narratives, like the which the fuqaha says that is because Banu Israel, they are also the follower of Abrahamic religion, so they have also got the narrations and the verses and the akhbar from various prophets until Musa alayhi salam especially. So they have also got some narrative, and Quran has got a specific narrative. So we will somehow consider and compare the Quranic narrative versus Israeli narrative in this session, inshallah. Then we will go to the Pharaoh's introduction in the Quran. That how is Pharaoh mentioned in the Quran? Who is Pharaoh and how is he mentioned in the Quran? And what type of traits does the Quran mentions? And uh, and then what will happen to Pharaoh and what's the divine decree about from Allah about Pharaoh, which we are going to see just today, inshallah. Then we are going to see what are Allah's plans and that the Allah's plans are the supreme of all. Then the most famous of all, the event of miraculous survival of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And we are going to briefly touch upon the types of wahi, because there's a confusion that Musa alayhi salam's mother was inspired by Allah in the form of wahi. So what type of wahi was that? Then Prophet Musa alayhi salam's earliest journey into the river Nile, and then Prophet Musa alayhi salam's miraculous reunion, and that's when the Musa alayhi salam, the baby Musa alayhi salam had already reached the castle, the palace of Pharaoh. So we are gonna briefly touch all these topics, and the most of the content and the source of the content will be Quran, inshallah. So everything I plan, what I will deliver today, will be authentic, inshallah, and there's nothing related to unauthentic sources today, inshallah. So, just to start the story and the events of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, Allah used this word. So I'm just going to recite this verse. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is Surah Al-Qasas, and this is the starting of Surah Al-Qasas. Ta Seen Mim. Ta Seen Mim. Tilka Ayatul Kitab al-Mubin. Ta Seen Mim. These are the verses of the clear book. نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون. We recite to you from the news of Moses and Pharaoh in truth for a people who believe. So now you see, just to start the story and the events of Musa alayhi salam, related to Musa alayhi salam, Allah used the word bil haq, and that's I have highlighted in yellow, which clearly points towards the distorted and twisted facts. So this word bil haq, in truth, this means that there were some false narratives that were without haq, that were just prevailing without haq, and those narratives were being prevailed or were at large by some of the people. So who could that be? So normally we come to know that that was the Banu Israel, and they had the knowledge, and they had the book, they had the Torah, they had the Old Testament, they had the Bible. So and it's all mixed up. So they also had their narrative, and now the Quran gives the narrative. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying now, نَتْلُو عَلَيْكَ مِن نَبَأِ مُوسَى وَفِرْعَوْنَ بِالْحَقِّ لِقَوْمِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. That we recite to you, we are now telling you the story, the news, and Naba'i Musa, the news of Musa and Pharaoh, bil haq, in truth, for a people who believe. So this bil haq means that Allah is revealing down the actual facts about Musa alayhi salam and Pharaoh. So now we should have the standard of Quran. Now this is the stencil given by Allah, that the Quran is the basic standard for the acceptance and the rejection of any event or story or anything that is mentioned anywhere. If Quran or its meanings accepts those meanings, if Quran condones the meaning, the theme, the context of that story, we will accept it. Otherwise, we would condemn it. And if Quran rejects it, we will just condemn it and reject it outright. So this is the basis of all events. So this is you can say the principle, the core principle of following all the events in the Quran, which are common in Banu Israel and Banu Ismail, and in Quran narrative and in the Torah narrative. So the Quran says that this Quran is muhayminun alay, that this is the testifier and this is the judge over all the books. So this Quran, we will just see how it testifies and how it rejects the false narratives or the distorted narratives. So Allah clarifies the Quranic narrative with the word haq, and this clearly points towards the distorted narratives and distorted versions that were out there at large. And so the Quran sets the standard that this is to be followed, and Allah started the story with this word, so that Quran is made the final authority on the event of Musa alayhi salam and Pharaoh. So this is the first thing that Allah mentioned in the first verse of Surah Al-Qasas. The next thing is the introduction to Pharaoh. So we have already seen in the previous sessions that how the dynasties of the Pharaoh worked, and how they rose, how they fall, and how they rose back again until the time of Pharaoh of the Musa alayhi salam came. So we also saw how the Pharaoh used to rule over Bani Israel. In the previous sessions where we discussed the condition of Bani Israel, we also saw that how Pharaoh was brutally persecuting Bani Israel, and how they were wait a minute. So what was the condition of Bani Israel and how the Pharaoh used to rule them brutally. So before the hero of the story, who is the Musa alayhi salam, so before introducing the hero of the story, according to this verse, according to this surah, because it's you can say this could be the beginning of the whole story of Musa and Pharaoh. So before introducing and before mentioning the hero of the story, Allah make mention of the villain. So that how he exalted himself in the land. So from here we come to know the etiquettes of the storytelling also, which Sir Sahil Adim also it reiterates again and again that you can't portray the hero correctly until and unless you portray the villain of the story first. So this is also the manifestation of this thing, that Allah mentions Pharaoh first, and then he mentions the Pharaoh, the Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam and all the Bani Israel. So Allah makes mention in Surah Al-Qasas, verse number 4, Inna Fir'auna ala fil ard wa ja'ala ahlaha shi'a wa ja'ala ahlaha shi'an yastad'ifu ta'ifatan minhum yudhabbihu abna'ahum wa yastahyi nisa'ahum innahu kana min al-mufsidin. And Allah mentions that indeed Pharaoh exalted himself in the land and made its people into factions, oppressing a sector among them and slaughtering their sons and keeping their females alive. Indeed, he was of the corrupters. And this word, innahu kana min al-mufsidin, this word is so alarming. We'll talk to it. We will come to it. Then Allah Azza wa Jal, when Allah Azza wa Jal mentions it, and Allah mentions in the same surah uh, uh, that the home of Akhirah, like I have mentioned in the same surah in verse number 83, Allah mentions تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين, that the home of the hereafter, the Darul Akhirah, is only for the one we assign it to those who do not desire exaltedness upon the earth or corruption. So these two, both of these traits, Allah mentions that the Darul Akhirah is only for the one who has not exalted himself. La yuriduna uluwan fil ard wala fasada. They do not exalt themselves upon earth, and they do not spread corruption on the earth. And Allah mentions both of these traits in the same surah in the first 4 verses of the Quran, that that the Pharaoh, inna fir'auna ala fil ard, he exalted himself in the land, waja'ala ahlaha shi'a, and innahu kana min al-mufsidin, that he was mufsid, he was min al-mufsidin, and he exalted himself. So both of these verses, if you combine and take a resultant, the first 4 verses tell you that he was very far away from the Darul Akhirah. The Darul Akhirah didn't belong to him, and the home of hereafter, Allah has not assigned the home of hereafter for Pharaoh. So some of the people, if you go through some of the books, so like if I mention if I mention the name, so some of the people like Ibn Arabi, he just claimed that Pharaoh brought Iman at his end of the life. But according to all the verses we will go through in the Quran, that's not true. That's very not true. And because he said while drowning, Amantu bi Rabbi Musa wa Harun, that's because all the hidden truths were now in front of him, and the Iman at that time is not acceptable anymore. So Allah said, Al-an ya Musa, you are bringing the Iman now. So وَقَدْ عَصَيْتَ مِنْ قَبْلِ, that you were the wrongdoer before. So Allah didn't accept his tawbah and didn't accept his Iman. So but some of the people and even some of the scholars, they said that Pharaoh brought the Iman at the end of his life, but that's not true. That's not true. According to these two verses, the resultant is clear that تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ نَجْعَلَهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا. That Pharaoh didn't have any of the portion from the Darul Akhirah, and that's very clear. So if you go deep down into this verse, so Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned some traits that he was inna fir'auna ala fil ard wa ja'ala ahlaha shi'a. He made his people into factions. He made the people into sects. Yastad'ifu ta'ifatan minhum. And then Allah mentions that he used to oppress them. Yuzabbihu abna'ahum wa yastahyi nisa'ahum. And then he mentions that he used to slaughter their sons and keep their females alive. So if any one of you notice that, why did Allah mention making sects? It's making sects, the making the people into factions along with slaughtering them. Did anyone notice that? If anyone would come up and say something about it, just for discussion. Did anyone notice that Allah mentioned وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَعًا, and then he mentioned يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُم? Because you see the theme of Quran and how Allah explains you the things, he mentions all the things that are equal in like Allah Azza wa Jal says, قَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدَ إِلَّا تَعْبُدَهُ إِلَّا إِيَّهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Like in Surah Al-Bani Israel, he said that Allah Azza wa Jal has judged, has decided, and has declared that no one is worthy of worship except Allah. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And then you have to do ihsan with your parents. So Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the like the things alike, like the heinous crimes together, because Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that the worthy of ibadah is only Allah, and walidain ihsan bil walidain is again the biggest command. So the scholars say that that's the biggest sin if you go against this command, and the second to that is going against your parents. So if you apply the same logic over here, so you see, inna fir'aun ala fil ardi wa ja'ala ahlaha shi'a. He made people into factions. And then Allah mentions yuzabbihu abna'ahum wa yastahyi nisa'ahum. So after giving it to a good thought, so the reason seems to me is that the tafarqa and the sects, making them factions, are so worse in the sight of Allah that he mentioned sects and slaughtering together and sectarianism. He mentioned dividing the people into factions and then slaughtering them in one sentence. And then he mentions ja'ala ahlaha shi'a first, before yuzabbihu abna'ahum. So it is understood from this that he made some of them opposite to them. So it is understood clearly from this verse that Allah Azza wa Jal, in the sight of Allah, sectarianism is even worse than yuzabbihu abna'ahum wa yastahyi nisa'ahum. And it is understood from this verse that Pharaoh, he made some of the people opposite to each other. And this is because corruption in the nation, he was so corrupt actually, that what he did, that he turned the people and he turned the people against each other. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that ja'ala ahlaha shi'a yastad'ifu ta'ifatum minhum, and he used to oppress a sector among them. So he used to keep closer one faction to him, and that faction used to oppress the next faction, and that's how the whole hierarchy goes on until the last person, until the weakest person in the whole group. And this grew hatred amongst each other. So the groups that were favored by him, they were so arrogant towards the other groups, and the other groups strive to push the favored ones away from their favor by spreading gossips and false slander. So they take place. They wanted to take place of one another, like the weakest ones. They wanted to go higher up into the next level. The one that were already up, they wanted to go up higher in the next level, and that's how the hatred and the sectarianism was on its peak at the time of Pharaoh. So the enmity and sectarianism among the fellows is the worst and the last thing that Allah wants. So now what's the lesson for us? So now we should see that how this sectarianism has been rooted amongst fellow Muslims also, and how are we being used by the forces in the world in the sectarianism? Over there, it was Pharaoh, and here today in the world we are being used by the world forces, and we are being used up in this sectarianism. And the recent, a very recent event that has gone through by everyone's ears and eyes is the recent Iran and Israel war. And it is a very great example of how Muslims are being used to spark the sectarianism amongst each other, and how couldn't we be united with each other against one enemy. Even we saw people saying that Iran is Shia and we are Sunni, so we shouldn't help them and try to be with them. So we even saw this kind of attitude. But you see, in their case, it was Pharaoh against the whole nation of Bani Israel. And in our case, it is the whole 2.5 billion Muslims against a small country, that's Israel, where same thing is been happening. يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُم. Well, it's much more than that. That يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيُذَبِّحُ نِسَاءَهُم. They are just killing everyone, and this is just going live daily. But yet we are being divided in the sects, and this is the misfortune of sectarianism, and that's why it is mentioned along with slaughter. That's the reason. That struck to my mind, that Allah Azza wa Jal hates this sectarianism so much that He mentioned Ja'ala ahlaha shi'a first, and then mentioned Yuzabbihu abna'ahum wa yastahyi nisa'ahum, and innahu kana min al-mufsidin. Okay, so well, we already discussed everything in this verse, but could you or could any one of you tell the reason why is this slaughtering was happening? Because this is the prominent matter in this whole verse, and this has been a topic of great discussion in the past also. And I think we have touched in the previous sessions. One of our sisters, she has already touched on this topic, so I just wanted to get your views on what you think. I think someone, Nayab Mumtaz. Yeah, please unmute and go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Walaikum assalam. Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so firstly, referring back to the previous thing, sectionism. Yeah,
Sectarianism.
I totally agree with you. It is one of the major tool which people in power use to control the mob. Divide and
Yes.
rule. It's as simple as this, because once you are in a particular section, that leads to some personal biasness, and biasness is equal to blindness. You get biased, you don't get capacity of critical thinking, you cannot question your elders. So all this sectionism, biasness, blind following, that closes all the doors to critical thinking. And I think that was the strategy by Pharaoh as well, that he can control the mob. And as you mentioned, there is a hierarchy, and everyone try to get upper hand in that hierarchy. So I totally agree with that. Now, your next question was slaughtering their sons. Why it is significant? First and foremost, it is very significant from the biological perspective that you don't have manpower. They will keep only those persons alive who are functionable for them, who are functionable to function the society, can do their chores, can do their works. And we can see that this is also applicable in the modern society where people are going with contraceptives, people are uh, not willing to take responsibility of the kids. And there are regular campaigns who are working on this, that you have to confine your children capacity to that much. Why? Because the people in power, they don't want extra men on the planet. They don't want extra men on planet to, consume resources, to demand rights. They just want that much of the mankind who are helpful for their purposes. So it was, I think, again with Pharaoh, that they were slaughtering the sons for the biological purposes and keep only those alive who can be functional for them, particularly women, because they can use them for the reproductive purposes.
All right, all right. That was very insightful. Well, okay. So why do you think Pharaoh was killing the children? Why he was slaughtering the children? What's the reason behind it?
Because he was told by his Kahans that there will be a boy who will overthrow him from his throne, from Bani Israel.
Okay, this is one of the reason I've mentioned this. Prophet Ibrahim's prediction, famous in Bani Israel, that a person will come and there would be a prophet, and he will just destroy the Pharaoh's kingdom, and which reached this rumor, this reached to Pharaoh. Anything else? Anyone else? Does anyone know the reason? And I think that's mentioned in every book of Seerah and Qasasul Anbiya.
He wanted to make the Bani Israel weak, I think, because he just wanted to leave the women and the children, so that and kill the males, so that he makes Bani Israel weak.
Okay, okay, that's a good reason. Well, this point of view and this opinion is normally not found in the books. I think you have researched it in deep, or you are just speaking your mind.
I'm just speaking my mind. I haven't read anywhere.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? I think no. So, yeah.
One thing more, and they also said prophecy in Bani Israel, which says that boy will come, and one was the dream, which is his Kahans predict, and one is theories that the prophecy in Bani Israel that a boy will come and they will give us the freedom from the
Okay. Yeah.
there's
This is related to you are right. This is related to the first thing that's written on your screen, that's visible. The second thing was that you mentioned that Pharaoh saw a dream, that the dream tellers, the storytellers, or the dream interpreters, he went to them, and he went to the priests, and they said that there would be a child and he will destroy your kingdom. And he saw some fire that just burned all of his kingdom. So this is another view. That's why he started preparing for that thing, and then he killed all the children.
Isn't this a dream that was only that was mostly mentioned Israeli, the not mentioned.
Yes.
It's not authentic in the Muslims book, I think so.
Yes, you are right. Yes, you're right. I will explain it in a bit. So one of the views was that Ibn Kathir in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, he said that the slaughter was only after the mission of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. So he mentioned, it was a surprise to me that he mentioned that Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he went to the palace, when he gave the dawah to Pharaoh, and then he said that I will kill your children, and then it's mentioned in the Quran. He tried to link those two verses, but I don't think this view is correct. So one of the many opinions is that the slaughter used to alternate between the years. That he used to, well, it's very much linked to the previous ones, that Bani Israel were killed every year. They were just the Pharaoh just started massacring them, and they were just butchering them. That Bani Israel and the Copts, they came to Pharaoh and then complained that we are having a deficiency of manpower, so please stop killing. So he tried to he made a plan that okay, we will alternate it between the years, but that doesn't seem to me logical. If he was searching for a child who will just destroy the whole kingdom, this thing doesn't make sense to me. So well, the last thing that I have mentioned is all the narratives, they all came from Israelites. They all are Israelites. Quran doesn't mention the reason, and there is no guidance in discussing the reason. That's why Quran doesn't mention. And because all of these are zanniya, the speculations, all the we are just trying to hit and try, just trying to take the riwayat, take the opinions from all the books, because we know that in our books, in our books, even in the books of tafsir, there are many narrations that are from Israeliyat. So we have to stay away from them, because they have changed the whole narrative. They have changed the whole theme. They have changed the whole map of the Quran. If we go to the narrative of Bani Israel, if we go to the narrative of Israeliyat, that's why I emphasize so much on this topic. So what I personally believe is somewhat like Sister, I think Sister Javeria, who was speaking her mind. What I personally believe until now, that and until now that some maybe in future some other research might attract me, and what's that is that the Pharaoh thought they might revolt against them in some wars, because the Bani Israel uh, were too much in population. So he said he must have understood that they might revolt against Pharaoh in any of the wars, and that's why, and he might have seen some unity amongst them, and that's why they started to divide them in the sects, and then started killing them in smaller disputes, as is evident from another verse in Surah Al-Qasas. When we go to the next phase of Musa alayhi salam, when we go to the quarrel and to the debate and the fight between Musa alayhi salam and between the two persons, in which Musa alayhi salam was trying to get the Israeli person away from the Qibti, from the Copt, from the Israelite from the Copt, where it mentions in Surah Al-Qasas, verse number 15, Allah said, and one of his party sought help from him against one of his enemies. So they were just quarreling between each of them, each other with each. They were just quarreling with each other, and this indicates that they were just coming in smaller disputes and killing the people, killing the Bani Israel. So, well, that's only my preference for now, but this is nothing certain about this thing, because the Quran didn't mention the reason, so we are not certain about the reason. So that's it. If anyone has any question, so please go ahead, or we will move forward. Okay. So this view which I have which I have preferred is one of Muhakkik Tahir ibn Ashur, that's a Mufassir, and Muhammad Buyumi al-Mahran. He has also taken, he also views somewhat like this. So that's just a personal preference. And Tahir ibn Ashur, Muhakkik, which I just mentioned to you, he is a Mufassir and Muhakkik. He mentioned وَأَمَّا مَا يَحْكِيهِ الْقَصَّاصُونَ أَنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ أَخْبَرَهُ كَاهِنٌ أَنَّ ذَهَابَ مَلِكِهِ. He said that about this, about the qissa, about this whole story, which the qassasun, which the storytellers tell, that أَنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ أَخْبَرَهُ, that Pharaoh was told by the kahin, by the interpreter, by the future tellers, أن ذهاب ملكه يكون على يد فتى من إسرائيل فلا أحسبه صحيحا. That there will come a person, there will come a man, the young man who will just blow off and destroy your kingdom from the Bani Israel. فلا أحسبه صحيحا. So he says that I don't find it correct. This opinion doesn't seem to me correct. So that's just a preference. Okay, so now moving forward. So when we go to the next verse in Surah Al-Qasas, Allah Azza wa Jal states, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. And we wanted to confer favor upon those who were oppressed in the land. عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, who were oppressed in the land. وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً, and make them leaders, make them a'imma, make them imams. A'imma is the plural of imam. To make them leaders, the one who is followed by the people. وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ, and make them the inheritors. Inheritors of what? Inheritors of land, because the context is about the land. وَنُمَكِّنَ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنُرِيَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَجُنُودَهُمَا مِنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَحْذَرُونَ, and establish them in the land and show Pharaoh and Haman and their soldiers, وَجُنُودَهُمَا, and their soldiers, the soldiers of both of them, through them what they had feared. So Allah Azza wa Jal makes mention of his supreme plan just in the start. And what's that? This is the destiny of the weak people. He decides the destiny of the weak people and the strong ones. He decides and declares the destiny of the weak people, the oppressed people, and the destiny of the strong people, the oppressors. And that Allah will one day turn all the tables. And he said that we will make the weak stronger, the oppressed capable, and the humiliated honorable. And this same covenant is mentioned in different places in the Quran, like Surah Al-A'raf in verse number 137. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the same scenario, and he said that we caused the people who had been oppressed to inherit the eastern region of the land and its western regions, which we had blessed, and the good word of your Lord was fulfilled upon the children of Israel, on Bani Israel, because of their patience. So it was Allah's supreme plan to favor Bani Israel, to give them his mithaq and give them his ahad. And if they fulfill that covenant, if they fulfill that mithaq, if they fulfill that ahad, Allah will make them the imam, the leader of the world. And by the way, this is the same designation as was given to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned Ibrahim alayhi salam that I am going to make you imam. well, he was the Imam of Nabuwa, but the same designation has been given to the Bani Israel now. And what does it mean? That the people, they will be the guide for the people thereafter, and so the people will follow their example. And this was the position and reward Allah planned to give to them. Well, as for making them inheritors, then the second thing that Allah mentioned is وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned He's gonna make them imam, and وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Now the second thing Allah mentioned is that we are gonna make them warithin. So as for the inheritance, as for making them inheritors, this means that Allah Azza wa Jal will give them the lands of another people. So because like waris means that you are going to inherit something that you didn't own previously. So Allah Azza wa Jal mentions that you are going to inherit the land from the people from the ones you don't own them previously. So this was another merit given to Bani Israel, that Allah Azza wa Jal will make them rulers over the other people. He's going to make them rulers on the other people. So this inheritance was the inheritance of authority and on earth, and after those who were before them, on those who were before them, and on the people who were just after them, and empowering them on earth. Now Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, and then وَنُمَكِّنَ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, and establish them in the land. So this is the empowering them on earth. What does this mean? So this empowering them on earth means they consolidating their authority over what they own, and which is the land of Sham right now, because Allah Azza wa Jal gave them authority over Sham, Misr, not Misr, Sham actually, because when Musa alayhi salam went there, and then after the Bani Israel, they conquered the Palestine, and then Allah Azza wa Jal gave them the land of Sham. Well, it is also possible that the meaning over here is strengthening them amongst the nation of the earth, and that's also visible from the proven history and from the Quran, that Allah Azza wa Jal strengthened them among the nation of the earth. So this is the whole plan of Allah. Allah mentions وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ وَنُمَكِّنَ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنُرِيَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَجُنُودَهُمَا مِنْهُمْ كَمَا كَانُوا يَحْذَرُونَ. This is the whole statement. This whole statement gives the whole consolidated plan. This is the supreme plan. So Allah planned that this oppressed nation would be taken up from the sewers, who were just in the sewers. They were prosecuted, they were persecuted, and now Allah Azza wa Jal is going to take them on a place of the highest level of power in the land. We have, if you guys have attended our previous sessions, so in previous one of the previous sessions, we mentioned the principles of azab and halak, that what is itmam al-hujjah, and how the azab comes after the itmam al-hujjah, and we are going to discuss the halakat, the zillah, as Quran mentioned, the destruction of the Bani Ismail and Bani Israel, that how and what are the principles, and when we are done with Musa alayhi salam series, that we will discuss and go through those sessions, inshallah, that what happened afterwards and how they came, how come they, because Allah mentions that we are going to make them Aimma, we are going to make them Warisin, where we are going to give them establishment in the land. And so how they were taken back to sewers, and how again they went back to the miserable state. So this all we are going to study, inshallah, in the upcoming Seerah sessions. Sister Nayab, yeah, please.
Okay, Zan. So the thing you are describing, the thing which I am getting is that Allah decided to make an oppressed nation imam and inheritors of the land. So I
Yes.
assume that this is not something random selection. As you mentioned that there was some criteria of misak, that if they follow the misak, Allah will give them imamat and inheritance. So if you
Yes.
can describe that misak a bit more, because this is relevant for us. We are right now an oppressed nation and we want to be
Uh,
in imamat and inheritance. So obviously we need to follow some criteria as well, and that will be misak, I guess.
Yes, yes, you're right. If we go through Suratul Bani Israel, Suratul Baqarah, and
Mm-hmm.
Suratul Maida also, where Allah Azza wa Jal counts and describes all the crimes done by Bani Israel. فَبِمَا ظُلْمٍ, I don't exactly remember the verses right now, but Allah Azza wa Jal mentions all the crimes that they were prohibited from, and then they did the exact opposite. Allah Azza wa Jal ordered them one thing. Allah Azza wa Jal ordered them to follow the messengers, follow the Rasul, follow the Anbiya. They killed the Anbiya. They killed the Rasul. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned them not to do this. They did the opposite. So all the principles, we will do a separate session on that, inshallah. I have that planned, because if you go back to the channel which I shared to you, if you go back, and we have done already the Itmamul Hujjah session, that is related to the Kuffar and Mushrikeen, and that's not related to Bani Israel and Bani Ismail. For Bani Israel and Bani Ismail, Quran has mentioned the separate principles. They are very much defined. They are just black and white principles mentioned in Quran. That's equally applicable to Bani Israel, Christians, Jews, and Muslims also. And Quran mentions if the Muslims, it addresses to Muslims, that if you do iman, if you have iman, and then you do amal saleh, then Allah Azza wa Jal will give them give Muslims istikhlaf fil ard, kama istakhlafa alladhina min qablihim, like Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, give the istikhlaf fil ard to the people before you, and that was Bani Israel. So
So those black and white principles are basically the misak which we need to
yes,
follow,
yes,
right?
that's exactly what we need to follow also. That was the
Okay.
same thing given to Bani Israel previously, and now after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's the same thing, because there's a misconception in people that that Bani Israel were not like us, that they didn't have the that was the chosen ummah, as mentioned in the Quran. That was the chosen ummah by that time. But when they crossed, and when they transgressed the covenant, and when they transgressed their ahad, Allah Azza wa Jal took the ahad and gave it to Ummat Muhammadiyah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that was the same duty of Bani Israel, لِتُبَيِّنَنَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ, that it was the as mentioned in the Quran, that it was the duty of Bani Israel to spread their religion, spread Torah, spread the whole that was given to them, the kitab that was revealed upon them, but they didn't do that thing. That was the
So
exact, yeah.
in a nutshell, if we follow the misak, we will be imam. If we not follow the misak, either
Yes,
you are in the position of leadership, Allah will change them to someone else,
yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes. That's. I think this thing needs a whole session, and we will do a whole session, inshallah,
Yeah,
where we
because
will just,
this will
yeah.
really helpful if we get to know that what criteria we should meet as an ummah so that we become
Yes,
imam again. So it will be very
yes,
helpful.
yes, yes. That's right. Allah
Okay,
Azza wa
fine,
Jal
Jazakallah.
clearly mentions all the principle of halak and azab.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it makes sense now, Jazakallah khair.
Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Allah Azza wa Jal makes mention the whole supreme plan, and after the whole thing, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions وَنُرِيَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَجُنُودَهُمَا مِنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَحْذَرُونَ. Allah mentioned that Allah planned to show Fir'aun and Haman what they feared. So what they feared, that's very much obvious, that they feared to lose their control, and they feared to lose their authority over the land. which would soon be replaced by the oppressed people. Okay, one thing that's worth mentioning right now is the word Haman. Mention of Haman. Does anyone know what's significance of the word Haman? Do we get to know anything about Haman in Torah, Old Testament, or in Bible, etc.? Does anyone know about that?
I heard about Haman is that he was the Israeli as yeah.
He was from Bani Israel, you say?
Yes, he's from Bani Israel, but he was very rich. So
Are you confusing Samri with the Bani
no, not the Samri. There is one
or
person.
Qarun?
No, sorry, I missed with Karun. Yes, you're right, Karun.
Okay, but because Pharaoh and Haman, they were from the same party. They were from
Okay.
the Pharaoh party. Yeah. So the significance right now, what I'm gonna tell you is that now in the next slide, the person Haman, he couldn't be found in Torah and Old Testament, and therefore the historians of Bani Israel, they have unanimously accepted the fact that there wasn't any person named Haman at the time of Pharaoh. Rather, they said that this was the person that came after Pharaoh. And that's the logic, and that's the proof they gave that Haman is nowhere to be mentioned in the Torah and in the Old Testament, but we find in the different historical records that he was after Pharaoh. So if you go, do you see how logical and how far how logical and how far-fetched this reasoning is? Couldn't there be another person named Haman after Pharaoh, and in the time of Pharaoh also, and after Pharaoh also, at the same time? How is it impossible? And the Haman, as we can see, I have copy pasted one of the extract from Professor Maurice Bocale. He says that Haman is mentioned in the Quran as the chief architect and builder, but the Bible does not mention anything about Haman during the reign of Pharaoh. So he says that I wrote the word Haman in hieroglyphics, the language of ancient Egypt, and showed it to an expert in an ancient Egypt history. In order not to influence him, I did not tell him that it was mentioned in the Quran, but rather I told him that it was mentioned in an ancient Arabic document dating back to 7th century. The expert told me it is impossible for this word to appear in any Arabic document in the 7th century because the hieroglyphic writing symbols had not yet been solved at that time. In order to verify this matter, he recommended that I review a dictionary of personal names in the new empire by element rank. The person he went to, he suggested a book. So he says that I looked in the dictionary and found that this name was there, written in hieroglyphics and German. There was also a translation of the name Chief Quarry Foreman. This name or title was given at the time to the chief who managed the large construction projects. This is very much to be noted. This is the point to be noted right now. That this name or title was given at the time to the chief who managed large construction projects. So he says that I copied that page from the dictionary and went to the specialist who recommended that I read it. Then I opened the German translation of the Quran and showed him the name Haman. He was so astonished and could not say anything. And this is the name of the book that this paragraph has been taken from. So, as Haman was the chief minister of Pharaoh, now you see that the miracle, it's the miraculous nature of the Quran, that Quran mentions the name of a person that was nowhere to be seen before that. So this is also one of the ijaz of Quran. And now the next slide, what I see is, have a look at this one. In Surah Al-Qasas, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the event. وَقَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأُ مَا عَلِمْتُ لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرِي. And Pharaoh said, O eminent ones, I have not known you to have a God other than me. فَأَوْقِدْ لِي يَا هَامَانُ عَلَى الطِّينِ فَاجْعَل لِّي صَرْحًا لَعَلِّي أَطَّلِعُ إِلَى إِلَٰهِ مُوسَىٰ وَإِنِّي لَأَظُنُّهُ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. O Haman, then ignite for me, O Haman, upon the clay and make for me a tower, that I may look at the God of Moses. And indeed, I do think he is amongst the liars. So Haman, you can see from here that Haman was close to Pharaoh and was responsible for construction and building work, as found in the discovery as chief quarry foreman. Thus, we see in the Quran that Pharaoh asked Haman to build a tall tower for him, and this is completely consistent with the archaeological and excavation discovery. This discovery of the name Haman in ancient Egypt writings demolished many false claims about and against the Quran, and this thing also proved that the Quran is from God Almighty Allah. And this was one of the things I found very much noteworthy. So I just noted it and explained it. So this is one of the ijaz of Quran. Alhamdulillah. Now we go to the birth of Musa alayhi salam. So we have seen the conditions, the traits of Pharaoh, how was the condition, how was the prevailing conditions, what was the status quo, and we know everything, that in what times Musa alayhi salam is being born, and why is he being born. That's also mentioned in the Quran. Now we know about Allah's supreme plan, that he plans to take the oppressed nation out of that oppression, and he wants to give the virasat of the land. He wants to give them tamkeen in the land, and he wants to make them aimma. That's the whole plan of Allah. So now just imagine, the soldiers are searching for the children, because it's the time when Pharaoh is killing the people, killing the children of Bani Israel. The soldiers are searching for the children from Bani Israel, and they want to kill everyone. And wherever they see a child, they just get rid of them. So now, because that Allah had planned to scale up this nation, and so Allah, because of his supreme plan, he had to create the asbab, he had to create the ways, he had to plan the thing with astounding nature. So Allah planned to scale up this nation, and so Allah created the person who would be the savior for them. So Quran now goes on and mention this story, this event, and it starts from the mother of Musa alayhi salam, whose name is not mentioned anywhere. Some people say something, some people say something. It's again coming from Israelites. So we are not very much interested in the name. So we are just focusing on Musa. Musa. Wherever we go in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions Musa. So we will also say Musa. So وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى Musa أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ, and we inspired to the mother of Moses. We inspired to the mother of Moses, suckle him, أَرْضِعِيهِ, breastfeed him. But when you fear, فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ, But when you fear for him, فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ, cast him into the river. وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي, and do not fear and do not grieve. إِنَّا رَادُّوهُ إِلَيْكِ وَجَاعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Indeed, we will return him to you and will make him one of the messengers. Subhanallah. This is the true inspiration of Allah. And the revelation here, because Allah Azza wa Jal mentions over here, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ. Now, I told you that we are going to discuss about the types of wahi. So, in Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions two types of wahi. So, one is the wahi an-nabuwa, and the other one is the wahi ghayru nabuwa, which Allah Azza wa Jal mentions for the people who are not the prophets. Like Allah Azza wa Jal mentions وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ. When another place in Surah Al-A'raf, I think, he said that, I think it's in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَأَوْحَيْتُ إِلَى الْحَوَارِيِّينَ, I inspired, I revealed to the Hawariyyin, to the companions of Isa alayhi salam. وَأَوْحَيْتُ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. In Surah Al-Nahl, Allah says, وَأَوْحَيْتُ إِلَى النَّحْلِ, I did wahi to the nahl, to the bee. And Surah Al-Zilzal, Allah again mentions in Surah Al-Zilzal, بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا, that the earth will say what's happened, and because of what Allah has revealed to it. So all these verses, wahi, awhayna, awhaytu, awha laha, so this all mentions and creates a differentiation that the wahi is not specific to the messengers and to the prophets. It can be done to other than the prophets, even other than to the human beings. So if anyone wants to go deep into what is the wahi and what are the differences and what is the manifestation, and how Allah Azza wa Jal do kalam with the people, with the bashar, so just go into the Surah Shura, verse number 51, and go to its tafsir, read different tafsir, and you will come to know the exact details about it. So this is the true inspiration from Allah Azza wa Jal to Musa, and this true inspiration comes to the righteous, and this instill to their souls, and it gives a certain a very certain thought, and it gives and it motivates them to do what they are inspired to do. This is Allah's creation for the fulfillment of the divine plans, as mentioned before. So Allah Azza wa Jal chose Musa's womb for the creation of Musa. Allah Azza wa Jal created Prophet Musa to save Bani Israel for the fulfillment of the plan, and Allah Azza wa Jal inspired and revealed to his mother to suckle him. Now, we go to the miraculous survival of Musa alayhi salam. How is this thing happening? So if you inspect the verse in depth, فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي إِنَّا رَادُّوهُ إِلَيْكِ وَجَاعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. If you inspect this verse, you will find that Allah Azza wa Jalla has mentioned two news, two commands, two prohibitions, and two glad tidings. So what are the two news? Allah Azza wa Jalla says, gives wahi to Musa. We have discussed about the wahi, that what is wahi. The second news is that she will fear death for Musa. This verse indicates that it was revealed to her at the time of Musa alayhi salam's birth, because whenever she feared for his death, she should just cast him into the river. And yet it is another sign from Allah to her that Allah gave her the news of the unseen, and that she will feel feared for him. So these two are the news One is the wahi of Musa. Second is the fear for Musa. Now, the second thing is 2 commands. So what are the 2 commands? First command is to suckle him, breastfeed him. And the second one is to cast him into the river. Breastfeeding him was for 2 reasons, apparently. First, to fill his hunger. Obviously, it's very much obvious, to fill the hunger. And the second one was to recognize and memorize the taste of the mother's milk for the future that Allah plans to do, which we will cover shortly. The second command was to cast him into the river. And as we discussed, that this is wahi, inspiration, was a greatly satisfying and very certain thought to cast him into the river. And naturally there would be a fear of loss of child's life. So Allah inspired her with 2 more prohibitions. What are they? Do not fear, do not grieve. Allah says that, oh Musa, don't fear, don't grieve. The fear is normally for the future thing, and the grief is on the past and present. So with these 2 prohibitions, Allah commanded her not to fear for Musa's life and not to grieve that Musa will be away. But the question over here is that, oh Allah, how, if you just go to the feelings of Musa, she is being revealed by Allah, the wahi, and he is telling her that you will feel feared for Musa. So when you feel feared, just suckle him and just cast him into the river. And then do not fear, do not grieve. So the question comes into mind, how can a person not fear and not grieve on his own child? He's going away. Then Allah mentioned just after that, Inna radduhu ilayk faja'iluhu min al-muslimin. Allahu Akbar. We will return him to you, and not only return him, but also make him a Rasul. Now just imagine what could have been the condition of her heart. And just imagine how was it all happened. Allah give wahi to her. He told that you will be feared, just suckle him, cast him into river, do not fear, do not grieve. And now Allah closes the whole loop, and he said that we will return the Musa to you and we will make him Rasul. Not only just return to you because we are taking a favor from you, we will return the favor to you with an upgraded and rewarded form. So this fulfilled the command, and this was all for her consolation, and this thing began a solace in her heart, and then she fulfilled the command and refrained from the prohibitions. So I think we are just running out of time. I have so much to do right now, but do you have time if we just continue and close this? If anyone could just give the feedback. Yes, Sister Nayab, please.
Yeah, I think we should wrap this up.
Okay.
So, my question was that you mentioned that a mother was feeling fear and grief, and then Allah mentioned the end of the story to calm her. So the point is that if we focus on end of our journey, our fear and our present problems and our present mental issues, they will get calm, maybe.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So
I'm
if
asking
as
actually.
no, I think you gave your answer with your question, that the Muslim, especially a Muslim, they should have the sight and they should have all of its focus of attention on the akhirah and on the destination, and the destination is al Jannah, and the destination is the reward from Allah, is the destination is the will of Allah. So if anyone is doing anything, if he goes to the destination, that at the end, what I'm gaining after that? At the end, what I'm gaining after that? If the answer is that I am gaining the riza, the will of Allah, then your all the efforts are not in vain. You are being rewarded in the whole step also. So it's the hurdles come. There is grief, there is fear, but that's temporary. Darul Akhirah is khayrun wa abqa. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran that the final place is better, and it is the one which will remain. So all of the other things are temporary. So I think this clarifies answers the question. I think this is very right.
Yeah, it is like a reminder that if you are going through something tough and something difficult, obviously you can look forward to the end of the journey towards the destination.
Yes, that's very right. So I think we will just stop here and we'll continue the next week, and we'll just wrap up now. If anyone has any question, so please come and ask the question. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up.
Just I want to ask one question. When you said that Pharaoh, he said, I want to build something, asked Haman to build something so I can see God of Musa alayhi salam. What category you would put Pharaoh in? Is he low IQ? That he doesn't even understand that this is in Fitra, that we all know there's God. How can he say that I want to see? Why he said that build something so I can go up there and see God of Musa? Is it like the concept of God is so tangible, in a tangible form for them, that they think like we can see God? Why he said that? This is so confusing. I don't understand actually.
Yeah, I think because Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا قَدْرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِ, that the people they don't did the qadr of Allah as is out to be done. So I think that's it's one of its categories. That Pharaoh, that you are right. You answered the question already. That because he said that I am the gods of the gods, and he used to believe that you told us the last in the last sessions that Amun and Ra, he was the transcendent of the Pharaoh was the transcendence of the Amun and Ra. So he used to think that there is some place for the god, and if we just go up there and we can see them, or maybe it could be a sarcastical thing that he was just saying. So I think this verse is much for open for discussion, and to be honest, I haven't done a research on that verse, so I don't know exactly what type of characteristic we will put Pharaoh in, if he's a low IQ person or a high IQ, or I don't know exactly about that. I think when we come to that, so we can study and research together.
Okay. Jazakallah.
Yeah, Sister Khazima, please come ahead.
Yes, I just want to add a point here, because Pharaoh thought that he was a living god. Not only Pharaoh, but the Egyptians believe that the pharaohs are the living gods, and whatever they used to see in the skies, they represent it in their architecture. So this could be the reason that the pharaoh thought that the god is visible, because even the Egyptians think that the Milky Way is a Nile that is in the sky. So they thought that everything that is on the earth has a representation in the heavens. So when the Musa alayhi salam presented message to the God, they presented the message to the Musa, Musa alayhi salam, and presented the message of one God in front of the Pharaoh. So he thought that there must be a God to whom I can see, because those people used to build the architectures, as we all know that Egyptians have the architectures. So they used to build those architectures because they believed that it was in their belief system that the spirit or the soul travel through these architectures, and then this is the part of the universe. Sorry. So this could be the reason that they might believe that the god of the Musa and Harun alayhi salam might be visible if we build some kind of architecture. So this is just I want to add.
So he was also thinking that it's some form of a bodily god and is a tangible god, that he used to believe that they used to make some mummies and sorry,
Yes.
not mummies, the statues and other stuff for the gods.
Yeah, also they they used to build the constellations, whatever they saw in the heavens. When they observe the Orion belt, they have also built that on in their they also has that representation of that Orion belt in their architectures. So might be he thought that when I build an architecture, because when we studied or researched the previous architectures, so in most of them we find that the people used to think that these are the architectures through which we can find the god, even though the Egyptians has built those pyramids, and they thought that the soul will travel. In my presentation, I think I have explained it. Even they have different kinds of the paths in those pyramids, and also the precision and the accuracy in those
Yes.
structures was just because they believe that the soul will travel through it. So might be thought it's just what I have searched. So I just want to add this point.
Yes, you're right. Well, one of the other verses, there's a word sababa also mentioned in the Quran that make I think I couldn't just recall the exact words, but it is something related to make some sababa so that I can go and see the God of Musa.
Yes, the word sababa has also used.
Yeah.
So my confusion is that he already had so many tall pyramids. Why he wanted to build a new one to go on it and then see why he ordered to build another one? And there's a question as well in the chat by brother Muhammad Shoaib saying that I have a question that was that tower built in real time? If it's true, then what was its structure like? I mean, was it like pyramid or a simple tower, or if it was built in real time, then what happened to it?
Actually, the thing is that I have noted down the question, your question also, and this one also now. I didn't research it in this angle because I was explaining something else, uh, quoting this verse. I was mentioning the Haman role in the Quran as mentioned, and what history has to say about that. So I didn't actually research in that particular angle. So I think that's the point of attention and interest, where most of the people interest lies. So we will just go through this in the next session. I'll try to answer. Otherwise, we will do a proper session on that, inshallah. Because all the verses we try to cover all the verses related to Prophet Musa alayhi salam in the whole series of Musa alayhi salam, inshallah. So when we come on this verse, inshallah, we will do that then, inshallah. Any other question? Sister Nayab, you have another question, or it's the previous hand raised?
No, I just want to add
Yeah.
a few things. I think building taller buildings is maybe something related to human psychology in dominance, because we observe this trend until now that there is a like race of we have the tallest building, we have the tallest building. So maybe there's something related to human dominance. I'm not sure about that. And secondly, regarding that I can see God in the sky, it is pretty obvious because if you have seen the NASA documentaries. By the end of documentaries, they mention one thing: we just want to research that maybe there is some other civilization like us. Maybe we can find someone. Maybe we get to know the answer of bigger questions, that from where we came, from where we will go. So I think this natural thirst is in the human nature, that they want to know what's happening in the skies. That's why skies are always a subject of interest for all civilizations in all centuries. So I think maybe this is something related to that.
All right. Good addition.
I think one point you said, I totally agree with that. There was some kind of mockery he was doing towards Musa alayhi salam. So, and the other point, Sister Hazima, she said that the way he used to see the whole world, the reflection of galaxy and unseen world. But I think there's somehow a point of arrogance and
Yeah.
the way I would say that it's a low IQ as well, because Fitra is still there, no matter it's Pharaoh or Namrud. Fitra is there. Everybody recognize God in some way, inside inner self, it knows. But the way he was like doing it, that was definitely a mockery. And they had the concept of God, like above there's a higher power. They used to, whatever they used to call, but they didn't believe in one God, the cluster of gods and everything. They had that they wanted to see like all the gods, they have statues. So definitely Musa alayhi salam's god must be somewhere here. That was a style of mockery, definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
Misbah,
You,
you're right in this perspective, because Quraysh used to mock Rasulullah as well, that if you can build a ladder for us, we could go up and see your God. So maybe there is some element of sarcasm in this. Yeah, you're right in this perspective.
Definitely.
yeah, because you see, there must be some element of sarcasm, and plus this is height of arrogance, because he used to call himself the God. He used to declare himself as the God. So he says that, as mentioned in this verse, "Wa inni la azunnuhu min al-kadhibin." And indeed I do think he is among the liars. So he's saying that I think he's among the liars. There is no God. There is no such thing as God, because I am the God. So that might also be arrogance at work.
Yeah, and they used to deny the power of, or you can say, how to put it, the ghaib, the unseen word. Like their perception of God was tangible, and our perception of God is, you can say, abstract. If you agree, should we call it abstract? Because we cannot give Allah a form or an image. And we believe in like Allah is like beyond the comprehension of Allah, image of Allah or form of Allah. It doesn't exist. So they did not believe in the spirituality of the concept of God.
Maybe, yeah, because you see, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that "Wama qadarullah haqqa qadri." Like they did not do the qadr of Allah as he's out to be done. It was out to be done. So some of the people just made jism for Allah. Some people made like transcendence in like Jesus and Mary. So all of the people, they have all the beliefs which Quran has mentioned. So I think it was some form of, he was understanding that the God couldn't be anyone who is like not, couldn't be seen, and who couldn't be tangible. So that was the image, and that was the structure in their minds regarding God, and that's why Allah Azza wa Jal mentions "Wama qadarullah haqqa qadri." So that's my opinion, and I think we will go deep in these words, and we will try to understand much more,
So it
inshallah.
means that it was never built. It wasn't an order to actually build something. It was just a mockery. So it
Maybe,
answered
yeah,
the question
maybe.
of brother
Well,
Muhammad.
I think we have to search a bit more and then we can answer.
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay, so we'll just wrap up now. So next week, inshallah, we are going to continue this session, continue the series, and then maybe if we are done early, then we will go to phase 2 of Musa alayhi salam's life, and then we move forward, inshallah. So that's all for today. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.